What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for yet another video for you guys. This time we are bringing to you the half-season player ratings, where we're going to have a look at the Spurs squad, seeing how they've done this season, giving them a rating, and we'll see how you guys disagree with us or agree with us.
Definitely disagree.
We'll see about that.
We did a half-time report, didn't we?
We did a half-time report, but it wasn't really half-time. This is the real halfway stage. One more game till halfway in the season.
Yeah, what were we, 5 games into the season when we did it or something? Yeah,
something
like ridiculous. But look, yeah, we thought we're pretty much halfway through the season now. 18 games gone. Europa League group stages are done. Into the final of the League Cup, FA Cup 4th round. We got Wickham. So we thought we'd assess the situation, see how everyone's doing, who needs to improve, who's doing really well, and I'm looking forward to this.
All right, well, let's get straight into it. Let's start off with Captain Hugo Laurice. We give him a 9. And I felt like since he's come back from an injury last season, he has just gone from strength to strength to strength. Yes, we kind of repeat every game that he doesn't have much to do. But from what he is called upon, he's doing very well, almost to perfection. And I felt that there's one part of his game which is really improved, and that's coming from crosses, really commanding his box.
Yeah, but I feel like also the fact that he doesn't have much to do is also credit to him as well, because he's obviously the captain. He's a proper leader in the dressing room. So I'm pretty sure that he's one of the leading lights in terms of defensive structure and in terms of setting up the defence, barking orders and things like that. We've been able to hear now there's no fans in the stadium. You get to hear bits and pieces about exactly what keepers are saying and how they're communicating. And we can see how vocal Hugo Laurice is. And we used to think he was this kind of quiet leader, but he's actually not. He's very vocal. He's very he constantly communicates, and the fact that he doesn't have too much to do and Spurs don't concede too many good quality chances, I think he takes some credit for that. But also he's made very good saves at crucial times. As you say, what he does really well. He's become a lot more commanding aerially and from crosses. So I think he's barely put. How many mistakes he made this season?
None.
I can't think of one.
None.
I can't think of one.
In terms of what we're talking about, of him commanding his box and him being very vocal, do you think that's a new thing that Jose Mourinho's brought out of him, or do you think he's always had that?
I think you can't be captain of your country and captain for a long time of your club if you don't always have an element of it. Maybe he's become more vocal ever since Jose's come in, but he probably was always in the dressing room a kind of loud guy. I mean, I obviously I don't really know, because we only seen the documentary when Jose first come in, so that's the best point of call we have. But I'm assuming you don't become captain if you're quiet. So I'm sure he had that element to him. But clearly, we've seen it more. We've definitely seen it more with our eyes ever since Mourinho's come in, that's for sure. Yeah. So maybe he has improved that element to his leadership.
And, the thing that really sparked it for me was in that documentary when he had that go at Son for not tracking back. And you just saw that passion. He needs everyone to work 100% for the team. It's the same for me, it's the same for Harry, it's the same for Lucas. I love that. That was my favourite part of the documentary. I just loved it.
Yeah, it was great. But he's had a great season. I think he's gone under the radar because no one's talking about him for best keeper of the season, but I think he's definitely a contender. He hasn't made a mistake and he's made some good saves, so I think he's a big part of our defensive solidity.
Let's move on to Joe Hart. We give him a 6. Only played in Europa League games, and not even all of them, but he has made a few clangers in Europa League games, kind of seeing that he is always susceptible to a long-range shot. But he has had some nice moments as well. Yeah,
he's made some good saves. Has he made clangers? I would say he's made, I wouldn't say they're clangers, but I would say they're shots like a better keeper would probably save them. And he's conceded a lot of long-range shots, which has always been something that people have pointed out as one of his big weaknesses, and it's definitely shown at Spurs since he's come in here. I think he's conceded about 3 or 4 long-range shots. But I think, he's not done great, but he's not done he's not been a disaster either. So I think a 6 is pretty fair. But I would worry if Laurice is injured for a sustained period of time, having Joe Hart in goal.
For me, Gazaniga goes in goal, but
I know
not going to happen.
So I would be worried if that was ever to be the case. Hopefully, Laurice stays fit for the whole season. But I don't think he's been a disaster. He just hasn't been very good.
Let's move on to Matt Dougherty. We give him a 5. Obviously, we're all kind of excited when we signed him with great reputation from Wolves, being an attacking wing back for Wolves. Hasn't really panned out the way he or us would have liked at Spurs so far. I just think that he's not really kind of suited to the system we're playing, is he?
Yeah. I did question when we signed him whether he would be able to replicate his attacking output for Spurs that he did for Wolves. And at the moment, it looks like he's not going to be able to. And I think he's just been a bit average in terms of how he's played. He's not been terrible, but he's not been good either. He's just been like an average fullback, like your average Premier League fullback. And we thought he would be an upgrade, or we would hope he would be an upgrade on the right back situation. And that hasn't been the case. I just feel like him playing in a back four as opposed to a back three just means he's not able to really drive into those into the penalty area like he used to, or get in there on the back post and get on the end of things and set up chances inside the box, because he's not getting into the penalty area. He has to do all his good work on in a normal right back position, outside the box, crossing into the box from deeper positions, and he needs to be able to put himself in a position where he's able to track back as well and get back into a back four, as opposed to get into that wing back position where you don't need to get as far back. And he is struggling a bit to adapt to that. So I would say it hasn't worked out so far with Dougherty. I don't think he's been terrible though, so I wouldn't rule out him having
average.
good. Yeah, I wouldn't rule out him improving in the second half of the season. I'm hopeful he can, but at the moment, definitely Aurier's been far better. He has the shirt, and Dougherty has his work cut out to get back in the team.
Yeah, which moves us on to Serge Aurier. We're giving him an 8. Night and day between last season, really, with Serge Aurier. Matt Dougherty's come in, like you mentioned before, and really kicked Serge Aurier up the arse. That's what you can say. I mean, his defensive displays have really got much better. His attacking displays as well, good. How many goals he scored this season? 3 goals already.
2 or 3, yeah.
So you've got to say Serge Aurier is having a really good season. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been completely faultless, because it hasn't. There has been a few mistakes along the way here and there, but when you look at last season and the season before, you would say that errors were kind of blighting his game, and that's not happening anymore. You've got to say that performances are much better than what they were.
Yeah, apart from that penalty he gave away against Leicester, which was one of the most brainless moments of the season, you would have to say that he's kept the mistakes to a minimum.
Yeah.
All the mistakes he's made have just been like, giving away stupid free kicks or something outside the box. But, last season, those were penalties. So you've got to say that he's improved on that element for sure. I think his attacking output was improving last season under Jose. We saw that when Jose came in, he started to improve his attacking output, and I think that's carried on for sure.
Jose didn't want him in our half last season.
Yeah, he said the best place for Aurier to be is away from our penalty box, and I don't think that's as true as it was last season. I think this season, I think you're right. I think he has definitely cut down on his mistakes, and he's a lot less of a liability going back. He's obviously not the perfect fullback still, but he's definitely a massive improvement defensively, and I think this season in the league, he's been one of the most consistent right backs in the league, and he really has provided a big threat. His crossing as well, he's creating a lot more chances as he was, and I'm really happy with Aurier. And if he can carry on this season till the end of the season, he's going to have a great season, and hopefully he can be our right back going forward. So I think, the best thing Dougherty done is kick Aurier up the arse, as you say.
Let's move on to Sergio Rechelon. We gave him an 8 as well. My left back, this guy. I mean, I loved him from the second he came. His pure attitude and the smile he has just around the kind of training pitches when you see all the videos. He seems as though he's fitted in straight away. He fits in with the whole squad. I think it helped him coming over with Gareth Bale, a player that he knew as well. But in terms of on the pitch, I think that he has been a revelation on that left-hand side. His sheer speed and aggression on that left-hand side doesn't give opposition attackers a moment to rest, doesn't give opposition defenders a moment to rest. And I can't be happier with Sergio Rechelon. Really can't.
You can't be happy.
Happier.
Oh, happier. Yeah, I think he's been great. I think he's really been great. We did really well to get him in the summer when he was courted by quite a few clubs, Man United most namely, who nearly signed him, and we got over the line. And I think he's gone from strength to strength. I think he started his career like a house on fire. He really settled in really well. He went through a bit of a quiet period.
Well, he started his career with a big mistake, letting Chelsea score.
But then he got an assist. But then he got an assist in the same game, and he was. I think he might have got to get man of the
his
match.
quality from crosses is brilliant.
Yeah, he really, his night and day between him and Davis in terms of his delivery, that's for sure. He did go through a bit of a quiet period after an initial really strong start, but He's come back since last few games. He's really come back into form again, and I think we've got a really good left back. He starts for Spain, or he gets a lot of game time for Spain as well, showing that he's really highly thought of at international level as well. And there's quite a few Spanish left backs who are good as well, so he does really well to get in the team there. And I think he's done really well since he's come into Spurs. Defensively as well, can't think of too many times where he's really been caught out. So I think he's really solid defensively and going forward as well. What more can you say? Dribbling, crossing. But he doesn't just do that. He's very able to get the ball down, pass it into the centre, look to break things down. He's a very clever player. He doesn't just look to whip it in aimlessly. He's very precise in how he does things. So
he shows with his 4 assists this season so far?
Yeah, 4 or 5 assists, I think so. He can play wing back, he can play left back. He's got that speed as well, which we've definitely been missing on that side of the pitch ever since Rose got injured. Davis hasn't really cut it in terms of a proper threat at fullback. So you got to say Rechelon has been great. So really good first half of the season for him, and hopefully, if Madrid are watching, he's been terrible.
Let's move on to Ben Davies. We give him a 7. I felt as well, like I said with Serge Aurier, with Matt Dougherty coming in, it's given him a kick up the backside. I feel with Rechelon coming in, it's given Davies a bit of a kick up the backside as well, because I think that his performances this season have been better than they have been last season. I think the last couple of games he's played at left back, I really think he's put in really good displays, defensively sound, even pitching and attacking wise now as well. Brilliant goal against Brentford in the semi-final. So you've got to say Ben Davies doing really well this season as well. When he comes into the centre-back positions on the left-hand side of a back three, I think he's done really well. There's been one game which he wasn't that good in the Europa League when he did fill in that position in the back two. But that's not really his position, so I'm not going to really bark him down too much for that one. But I'm happy with the way Ben Davies has played this season.
He's been solid. He has been solid whenever he's been called upon. Recent performances against Leeds, I remember he played really well against Liverpool at Anfield.
Yeah.
He had a really good game, really strong performance defensively. He's definitely become a lot better and a lot more solid. Obviously, offensively, he's still a bit average, and he's nowhere near.
Getting better though.
He's getting better, but he's nowhere near Rechelon. That's the truth.
Yeah,
They're nowhere near Rechelon, and Rechelon's kind of a different level on that case. But I think Davies has really kicked on and trying to show that he's in there for the battle for that left back spot. I do think he does well as well when he goes into a back three and plays centre back on that left centre back role. I think he's pretty adept at that role and gives us a few options when we want to go for that system. And I think he's had a pretty solid first half of the season. I can't remember too many awful games he's had. I think it was
just that one Europa League game. I think it was Antwerp, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was playing back two against a really physical striker as well on the day. So he did really struggle on that day. But I think overall he's had a really solid first half of the season, Ben Davies.
Let's move on to Toby Alderweireld. We give him a 7. For me personally, I think he's been our best centre-back this season. I'm not too sure why he's been out of the team the last 5 or 6 weeks. But you got to say that he has kind of picked up where he left off from a couple of years back. I know his pace kind of isn't the same, but he's got the brain to combat that. And I think he's a very clever defender. The way he kind of relieves the pressure with those pings from the back is second to none. And I think we're missing it a bit in the last couple of games because Dyer just doesn't cut it the same way as Toby can. So I've been impressed with Toby Alderweireld this season. I would just like to get a big, strong centre-back to play alongside him, to be fair.
Yeah, we hit on the first day of the season when we played Everton. He got outrun really badly by Richarlison, and then you're thinking, oh God, is this the end of Toby? Is he? And then he was out the team for a few weeks, and we're thinking, okay, maybe Jose doesn't rate him anymore. But he came back in. I can't remember what game it was, but he came back in and played really, really well, and kind of had a really good run in the team.
Wasn't it against United?
No, I don't think. No, because Sanchez gave away that penalty, so it wasn't against United. I can't remember who it was against, but he had a really strong run where he barely put a foot wrong. And then all of a sudden, against Liverpool, pretty much ever since Liverpool, we haven't really seen him that much.
Since the Leicester game, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Leicester, yeah. Ever since Leicester, where he scored an own goal, we haven't seen him that much. And it's a bit of a shame. I'm not really sure why, because I thought he was having a really great season. And I thought he was barely putting a foot wrong. And it was like a bit of a renaissance for him. It was like the Toby of old, as you say. I think his positioning's been there. His passing has been near faultless again. Those Toby pings have been back in full force, and I've been loving every second of it. I think he's really adds something to the team when he's in the defence. I think potentially Jose thinks, well, maybe we drop too deep when him and Dyer are both in the team. That's why he's looking to change it. But if anything, Dyer should have been the one who came out, not Toby, because I thought Toby was doing some really good things. So that's a bit of a shame. Other than that, I think it's been a pretty good first half of the season from Toby. But obviously we want to see a bit more from him. More of him, sorry, not from him.
All right, let's move on to Davinson Sanchez. We gave him a 5. What can I say about Davinson Sanchez? I feel like he's never really kind of learnt from his mistakes of the past. I'm not sure if he's like progressed as a kind of defender since we got him. I know like last season you could argue he was probably our best centre-back, but that's not saying much about him. It was mainly saying much about the players around him. He loses concentration. I think he gets bullied a lot for a player of his physique and his size. It's not all bad for Sanchez. I don't want to dig him out kind of completely. There has been some good performances in there, but it's just his lapses of concentration that really cost us in games, and that's the truth of it. And to be honest, I wouldn't be too fussed if we were to move him on now.
This was a big season for Sanchez, really big season, because this was his, 4th season at Spurs, with Toby seemingly at the beginning of the season potentially ageing a bit. There was a big opportunity for Sanchez to really grab that spot and not take any prisoners and tell Mourinho, look, this is my spot and I'm staying in the team. He gave him an extended run and he just didn't take it. He was making too many costly lapses of judgment and too many mistakes, costing us too many goals. Giving away that penalty at home to United in the first minute. I know we came back and won, but he was a big element to that. Against West Ham, their own goal and a few other things, and a few other really moments where he cost us quite badly. And although when he's played, it's not like he's been awful when he's been just like a terrible defender, but he's just always has that moment in him where he's going to make a mistake, and it's happened too often. And we know Jose has always had reservations over Sanchez, and I think they're coming to the fore. And he's always looking for a centre-back to be a bit pacey and allow us to play a bit higher up. So he keeps giving Sanchez chances, but Sanchez just doesn't seem to be taking them. So I think he needs to really improve in the second half of the season if he really wants a future at this club. Yeah,
and it's also obviously telling how the only players would seem to be linked with the centre-backs. And it's quite evident that Jose needs a centre-back.
The fact of the matter is we have a £40 million centre-back sitting in the squad who we haven't been able to see the best out of. And, when it's been 4 years, you've got to start asking the question, is this the best that we're going to see of him? And it might well be now.
All right, let's move on to Eric Dyer. We gave him a 6. I think all in all, when you look at Eric Dyer's whole season so far, you would say that he's had a good season from open play. But when it comes to kind of defending and his aerial ability, it's a weird one, because from open play, Eric Dyer, when the balls come over the top, he's actually quite good at defending with his head and getting it away from the headers. But when the crosses come in from the corners or the sides, it seems as though he loses concentration. And I can't really put my finger in it what the actual problem is with Eric Dyer, because in some certain situations he looks really good and really commanding in the air, but then in other situations it happens maybe once or twice a game where the ball just drifts over him and he kind of misjudges the flight of the ball. So it's really confusing to me with Eric Dyer. I mean, I'm not too sure why he is kind of one of Jose's undroppables. I really like Eric Dyer as a player, but I just don't see him as that kind of centre-back where you can't drop him. I mean, you need to be dropping him when he makes mistakes. How are you ever going to learn otherwise?
Yeah, Jose kind of wants him to be like our John Terry, doesn't he, or something of that ilk, and he's just not. That's the truth. Yeah. I think we have to accept that. And although he's been good and he's improved a lot, I feel, ever since he first came in at centre back back end of last season, I think he's definitely improved a lot because we were ready to let go of him, and I don't think that's the situation at the moment, but. You have to say that whenever he's made a mistake, it's pretty much cost us every single time, and it has been costly. And he's made a few of them now in that first half of the season.
He's just too sloppy.
Misjudging flights of balls, getting caught out on the run in behind and stuff like that. And for a centre back who's supposed to be your best one or the one that you start every game, he needs to be a lot more solid and a lot more reliable than he is. I don't think he's bad in any stretch of the imagination. I think he's actually pretty good, but I think. Similar, I just think he if he's going to be on that level where Jose picks him every game, he needs to up his level, up his standards. That's all I'm saying. I think out of the centre back options we have to pick from, I think he's probably one of the best, but I think in terms of like if you're looking at the top six and their senior centre backs, they're probably all better than Dyer. That's the truth. So I think if Dyer really wants to consider himself a top centre back, and if Mourinho wants to consider him his main option there, he has to up his level.
Yeah. 100%. Let's move on to Joe Rodon. We gave him a 7. Obviously, he's only played 2 Premier League games, so not going to speak too much about it. But from what he's come in and done, he's looked very, very, very promising. Yes, it's not been faultless completely, but Chelsea, he made a couple of mistakes early doors, and he grew into the game big time. And then the last game he played, I thought he was really, really good. So I'm excited to see what's to come of Joe Rodon, but not much to speak about just yet.
Yeah, it's a shame he was left out the Europa League squad, because it would have been good to get a proper look at him playing regularly, but unfortunately he was left out or he was signed too late. I think whenever we've seen him, he's been pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what I've seen so far from Joe Rodon. He looks confident for a young lad, and he looks like he really wants to establish himself here. He looks like a guy with a lot of quality. He's strong, he's good on the ball. And I think he's got a lot of potential moving forward. So hopefully he can get some more game time second half of the season. But unfortunately, we've only seen him sparingly so far.
Yeah. Let's move on to Harry Wiggs. We gave him a 6. Otherwise, Sim, you're probably giving him a different rating.
Give him a 10, surely.
Nah, in terms of Harry Wiggs, I think that he's been in and out the side all season, really. I mean, it seems as though his performances are coming in waves. Like, he's in the team for like 5 games, then he's out the team for 5 games, and he's back in the team for 5 games. I mean, all in all, you got to call on Harry Wiggs to do more from the centre of midfield. You got to call on for him to kind of start attacks more, I would say, like Højbjerg does. Like Højbjerg, he really gets the ball in the middle of the park and really starts attacks from winning the ball in the centre of the park. I think I would like to call on Winks to do more in the transition as well. But I would say that he's had an okay season. Okay, not great, not bad.
I think he started the season okay, not great, but not awful. We were when he was playing, I feel like when Winks plays, we look better in possession. I feel like we tend to create more chances when he's on the pitch. I don't think that's a coincidence, but I also feel like we lose a bit of physicality in the centre, and we could quite easily get a bit overrun when he's there. So he needs to improve on that a bit. He's had a good run lately. Obviously, he was out of the team from beginning of the season, where we were creating a lot of chances but conceding a lot of goals. So he took him out. He put Sissoko in. All of a sudden, we're very solid defensively, but the chance creation goes down. And so recently we've seen Winks come back in a bit, and I think we've seen a bit of a better balance in the midfield. But again, in the last game against Sheffield United, he didn't play, did he? He went for a back 3. So wasn't even in the squad, was he?
Bench, no.
So again, he's been left out. So we'll have to wait and see what the second half of the season brings for Winks. But I think he's been okay. But yeah, that's definitely a position I think at the moment we probably want to upgrade on, because Winks and Sissoko, they're kind of rotating, but they both have their strengths and weaknesses, but they're definitely upgradable. But I think Winks is a decent option. I actually prefer him to Sissoko in that position.
Well, anyway, there you go, guys. That is your headline for today. Simeon says we need to upgrade on Harry Winks. Bloody hell. What is the world coming to? But look, let's move on to Moussa Sissoko. We gave him a 7. I think Moussa Sissoko's had a good season this year. I mean, his limitations are clear for everyone to see. But from what he's done this season, he gets the ball. He always gives 100%. He's like a steam train in there, literally covers every blade of grass. He does so much work for the team and so much good work for the team. I
don't think I've ever heard you mention Sissoko without ever saying every blade of grass.
That's because he does every blade of grass in every single game. He's touched every blade of grass in every single Premier League stadium, probably. So you got to say, I'm happy with Sissoko, but I think it's time to upgrade him as well.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job, especially when we played City and Arsenal and Chelsea in that run. I thought he was really good at helping out Højbjerg, putting out those fires in the centre and helping clog up the central areas and making things difficult for the opposition. But I just feel, but it's not a coincidence that when he came into centre mid, the chance creation really went down. It really dropped off, because when we're on the counter attack and we need good passes in the centre to get the attacking players in good positions to really hurt the opposition, Sissoko's just not good at doing that. He's good at driving the ball forward. But he's not good. His passing range is extremely, extremely limited, and that has really hurt us, I feel. But for what he is and what he's for the player here he is, I think he's done a good job this season. Really has. Whenever he's been called upon, he's reliable. He really works hard for the team, as you say. So I think he's had a pretty good first half of the season. And I always feel like when he's in the team, we're going to be defensively solid, but obviously, if we want to really push at the top end of the table consistently, winning games, you feel like Sissoko is just one of those players that has to be upgraded at some point.
All right, let's move on to Le General, Pierre-Emerier Højbjerg. We're giving him a 9. I think this has been signing of the season for us this season. The way he's come in, taken like a duck to water, literally, I think he's been absolutely sensational. Nothing gets past him in that middle of the park. He's an absolute warrior. He's a Viking. Any word you want to put in there, that's what he is, because he is just absolutely brilliant in that middle of the park, helping out of the back as well in the defence sometimes when he drops into that back three. I really think he's been amazing. He helps kind of recently Tanguy Ndombele do his stuff with the kind of dirty work that he's doing. But not only that, what's gone of kind of unnoticed is the way as he starts attacks from the back as well, wins the ball, plays defence splitting passes. I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes he does it every so often. So you got to say Pierre-Emerier Højbjerg, defensively really good, attacking wise really good. So I'm really happy with pretty much every single game he's played this season, apart from the Everton game.
Yeah, it's exactly what we needed, wasn't he, Pierre? Everyone was questioning whether he was going to be good enough or going to be the player that we needed. But ever since he's come in, he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been phenomenal from a leadership point of view. He's been phenomenal from in terms of adding to our midfield that strength and that stability that we needed to stop leaking easy chances. Because last season we were just conceding chances left, right, and centre, and he's really stopped that.
We were a hole in the middle last season,
exactly.
And Højbjerg's filled that hole.
I completely agree with that. He's been absolutely fantastic. He's been exactly what we needed. I think he's improved himself since he's come to Tottenham. I think he was a box-to-box midfielder at Southampton. He's really become a really great CDM under Jose. He's learnt a lot. And I also think his leadership has been what we really needed in the centre. We were definitely lacking that, and he's become that general that we needed, and he's been really, really great. So his passing as well, as you said, he's improved from his time at Southampton, because that was just one of his big weaknesses, his on-the-ball ability. And I think he's really improved. He's really worked on that and improved that since he's come to Spurs. So I really have very, very few complaints about Højbjerg in this first half of the season. Really
I don't think I have any. But anyway, let's move on to Giovanni La Salsa. We're giving him a 6, unfortunately. His season has pretty much been stop-start because of injury. That's the main reason why we're giving him the 6. And most of the times he has been playing this season, it's kind of like he's been out injured for a few weeks, so he's needed time to get into the game and what have you. I think he's only put in, 2 or 3 good performances this season. So it's not really to any fault of his own. It's just because of the injury problems he's had this season. So I back Giovanni to come back from injury, and if he can stay injury free for the remainder of the season, I back him to come in and be one of our most important players. But so far this season he hasn't reached the heights that he was at the back end of last season, but like I say, it's mainly just due to injury.
Yeah, obviously we haven't seen him since that Leicester game where he got that hamstring injury. He's played quite a bit in Europa League, and he's looked pretty good there whenever he's played. In the Premier League, unfortunately, first of all, Ndombele has kept him out whenever he has been coming back. When he has been called upon, I feel in the Premier League, he actually hasn't been bad. I think he's been pretty good actually when he's played. He's just been injured a lot. You think about the assist he got at Anfield. You think about the goal he got at City. You think about the performance he put in against Arsenal. I also remember against Newcastle early in the season, I thought he had a really good game and was really unlucky. He came on at half-time at Southampton and changed the game as well. Mm-hmm. So he's had some really strong performances when he has been able to get on the pitch. The big problem is we just haven't been able to get him on the pitch enough, which is a big worry going forward to the season, because apparently he's going to be out for a few more weeks still. So hopefully we can get him back sooner rather than later, because I think he's a really, really good player, really special player when we have him fit and available, and he really adds something to the team when we have him. But this season's just been blighted by injuries, unfortunately, and hopefully he'll have a bigger part to play in the second half of the season when he gets back fit and he can stay injury free. But this first half of the season's just been a bit of a write-off, unfortunately.
All right, let's move on to Tanguy Ndombele. We gave him an 8, but now I'm thinking about it, I think we should give him a 9, because I think so as well. Yeah, I think a 9.
My original one was 9.
Yeah, 9 is definitely more fair for Tanguy, because he has just been a cut above the rest really in the midfield. The things he can do with the football is just absolutely... It just blows my mind sometimes, seeing the things that he can actually do with the football. The vision that he has is just absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with vision like he does, probably since Eriksen in his pomp, you know what I mean? the things he could do, defensive work now, he's adding to that. He's adding to his physicality and his fitness as well as the season goes on. Completed the 90 minutes against Sheffield United and looked like a beast throughout that whole 90 minutes. Like I said, he was kind of he helps out at the back now, helps out going forward. This guy, I mean, he is going to be a star, an absolute star for many years to come in world football, not just in the Premier League, not just for Tottenham Hotspur, but this guy has got the ability to go on and be one of the best in world football.
He's a special talent. We've seen that already this season. What an absolute special talent he is on the ball. There's very, very few players, if any, that can do some of the stuff that he does when he's on the ball. His boxer tricks to get out of any situation. He's like a magician. The way he's there and then he's not there. You don't know where he's gone. It's like you pull a sheet over it and you pull it off and he's just gone. You don't know where he's gone.
We should start calling him Harry Houdini. You know what I mean?
Honestly, because he's just incredible talent on the ball. And I always feel like as well, he doesn't just do tricks for tricks' sake. He does tricks with a purpose of getting somewhere, with a goal, I need to get into that space, so I'm going to maneuver the ball in this way to get there. And he's just so good at doing that. Centre mids throughout the Premier League don't know how to deal with him. And the only blot, obviously, that's been for this first half of the season is that obviously he's only been lasting an hour, which isn't great. But last 4 games, he's been playing 70, 77, 80 and 90 minutes. So he really is starting to improve that. He's starting to get more minutes on the pitch, and he's really developed the side of the game he's really developed is his defensive side, because he's really covering a lot more ground. He's making a lot more runs. He's making more tackles, interceptions, becoming a lot harder to deal with out of possession and in possession. So I really feel like Tongi's come up to another level this year, and that goal against Sheffield United was just capped off what has been a really great first half of the season for him, and I really hope he can carry it on. Hopefully we can see him a bit deeper, which is I feel his more natural position, and it will allow us to have a bit more attacking threat going forward. But for the time being, I think he's playing really well, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from Ndombele, and I want to see more. I can't wait to watch him every game. He's the one player that really gets me excited.
And thank God we just never got rid of him in the summer.
Oh man, yeah, because that would have been a disaster.
Thank God. Let's move on to Dele Alli. We're giving him a 4, unfortunately. To be fair, he hasn't seen that much game time. When he has seen game time, he seems to have been kind of hauled off at half time or early on in games. It's difficult to say, but I do feel like that he should be getting a bit more game time, especially with Giovanni La Salsa out for the time being and out for the next 2-3 weeks at least. So, I mean, he should be seeing game time if he doesn't leave in the next week. So, I think with Del, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because nobody knows actually what goes on behind the scenes. People on social media and reactionary Spurs fans saying, oh, he's poisonous in the dressing room, he's poisonous this, he's that. But nobody knows actually what's going on behind the closed doors. He's friendly with everyone in the squad. He's been around that squad for so long now. I can't really see him being a poisonous in the dressing room. It's difficult to assess really because he hasn't really played that much.
Yeah, I just think he needs to do more. I think Mourinho's clearly doing something, trying and get a reaction out of him, to try and provoke a reaction out of him. And at the moment, it's just not working. Nothing seems to be paying off. He's obviously started the season, remember, against Everton. He actually was in the starting lineup, and he got hauled off at half-time in that game. And he pretty much hasn't started a game since. He had a pre-season when thinking, okay, looks like he's going to have a big season. He was really performing well,
and
sharp.
Jose was singing his praises
Yeah,
as well.
Dyer was saying how excited he is about Dele, looking forward to seeing him this season. But unfortunately, he just hasn't done it. And at the moment, it looks like he's going to be leaving for PSG. We don't know that just yet. But at the moment, it looks like he needs a move to kind of freshen things up and get his confidence back, because he's not giving enough to the team when he is on the pitch, I feel. And Jose feels like it doesn't warrant a place in the team at the moment, and that says it all.
I do feel like there is a bit of double standards here. I know we're not seeing the whole situation because we don't really know what goes on behind closed doors.
But compared to who?
I'm about to say like when Dele made that mistake, that flick against Stoke, and they go up the other end and score, Dele gets hauled off straight away and he gets pulverised by all the fans, and because Jose made that comment after the game. Eric Dyer, when he makes these mistakes, no one ever says, well, I'm not talking about the fans here, but Jose never says a bad word about him and never kind of takes him out the team. So I feel that there might be a bit of a double standard there, and I feel like maybe Dele is being a bit harshly treated. But like I said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know how hard he's training. So I'm not going to mark Jose down too much on that one.
Yeah, maybe there's something to that. I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like I haven't seen enough from Delhi, and he's played all right in Europa League. But this is a player where, he used to be one of the stars of the Premier League. So when he's playing okay, you expect a bit more from him. So I want to see him up his game in the second half if he does stick around. But unfortunately, it looks like he might be off on loan. So that's going to be a shame, because if he does get back to his best, we might not reap the rewards of that. But at the moment, Delhi had not enough for me. I want to see more from him.
All right, let's move on to Eric Lamela. We gave him a 6. See last year's season rating and copy and paste, pretty much. See every single season's player rating and copy and paste for Eric Lamela. Started the season really well, was probably one of our better players, definitely. Gets injured, comes back, does well, gets injured, comes back, does well. Basically the same thing over and over again. Yeah,
it's Groundhog Day for Eric Lamela, pretty much. He can't stay fit. He never has been able to, and then probably never will at this point. And it is a shame because, as you say, he's played pretty well whenever we've seen him. Away at United, got Martial sent off and actually had a pretty good game. He had a few other good games as well this season. But unfortunately, again, injuries have blighted his season, and we haven't been able to get him on the pitch. So we can't be too happy about it. But whenever he is an option, he's pretty good. So that bodes well when he's available. But you just can't rely on him to be available. That's the sad reality of the situation.
Let's move on to Gareth Bale. We're giving him a 4. You got to say, everyone was so excited when we signed him in the summer, like really excited. It was like the prodigal son coming home, but it just hasn't lived up to what we hoped for. I feel like he hasn't played enough game time. I'm not sure how you're supposed to get match fit if you're not playing games, or at least coming on in games. I feel like that even if he was to come on in a game and play a bit more centrally, I think he can make an impact in a game like we saw against Brighton. He came on and kind of got the winner for us. Even against West Ham, I know that we conceded 3 goals after he came on, but he got in a good position. He got past Ogbonna really well, but he just missed the chance. And, that can happen to anyone at the end of the day. But when you kind of gauge Gareth Bale's season and how it's been, he's just not been good enough. He's not impacting games well enough. He's not really doing much in games, to be honest. And I feel like every time he even gets the ball or does anything slightly positive, the Spurs fans are just trying to cling on to it so much, being like, oh yeah, he's looking sharp, but nah, he's not really looking sharp, and he's not really impacting anything positively. I do back him to do something better than he has done in the first half of the season, in the second half of the season, but so far it hasn't been good enough, to be honest.
Yeah. The loan deal just hasn't worked out so far in terms of on the pitch. I think he's probably provided a good atmosphere around the dressing room, and he's clearly he's a lot happier, obviously, personally. And I think he's a good person to have around in terms of experience. The trophies he's won, and good for the young players. He's probably good for the squad, but in terms of his on-the-pitch contributions, it's been lacking. I know he got the winner against Brighton, which was a really high point. That was a special moment, and he's got 1 goal in Europa League. But for a player of Bale's quality, I know he's had a really tough couple of years at Madrid, not playing much and whatnot. But we obviously we expected a bit more, want to see a bit more from him. Obviously, he's still got the second half of the season, so I think Spurs are in a calm situation in terms of thinking about whether to renew the loan. I don't think they're in any rush to make that decision, and I'm personally not in any rush for Spurs to make that decision just yet. But if we do want to see more of him, then he's going to have to definitely show a lot more when he gets those opportunities, and hopefully he will in the second half of the season. But the first half, it's definitely been lacking, and you can't deny that.
Yeah. Let's move on to Lucas Moura. We're giving him a 5. I've just not been impressed with Lucas Moura the majority of times I've seen him this season, and you got to say that our good attacking play against teams that are having a high line with Kane dropping deep and Sonny going in behind. Lucas just doesn't make those runs. And if he was to make those runs, we might kind of see better output from him. But at the moment, we're just not seeing anything. And the majority of games where we're doing the player ratings and we're looking at the stats, it's just 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 every week from Lucas Moura. And I kind of feel that his time at Tottenham might be coming to an end.
Yeah, I mean, we know Mourinho's a big fan of him, but even he has been a bit reluctant to use him this season, so that probably says a lot. I think in Europa League, he's been pretty good. getting goals and assists, but you can't really judge a player's ability, unfortunately, in Europa League when we're challenging for, you know, top 4 or even top, and we want to win trophies and things. You can't really judge a player on their ability to play against Ludogorets and Lask in the Europa League. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation. So in terms of Premier League, he's got 1 goal against Newcastle. Nothing else I don't think he's done. He's been pretty anonymous, hasn't really looked a threat. His dribbling obviously is still there. He's still a really good dribbler. And work rate is obviously strong, but he's just, for a right winger starting for a Premier League team in a front 3, you just need to be even a threat. He's just not a threat. That's the biggest disappointment. You know, if you look at, we'll get into Bergvine in a minute, but you look at Bergvine, he recently anyway, he's been getting in those positions, looking to test the keeper, looking to create things, make things happen. Unless Lucas has a shot from 25 yards or he dribbles past a few players and does something, he's just anonymous. He's just anonymous. As you say, I've said it continuously. He never makes those runs off the ball. He never makes those runs in behind. He doesn't look to stretch the
Always
opposition.
wants ball to feet.
He always comes short and wants ball to feet and looks to dribble past a few players before doing anything. And that's the most frustrating thing, because sometimes you just need to keep it simple.
You need a variety in your game as well, and he has no variety.
Yeah, he never keeps it simple. He looks to overcomplicate things, always overcomplicate. I remember I used to have friends like that in the playground where whenever you gave them the ball, they have to beat a player before passing it. They can't just lay off the ball or do something simple. Yeah, that's probably you. Yeah. There was always the most frustrating players in the world, because sometimes...
that was definitely me.
Because sometimes, as Mourinho said about Højbjerg, you know, simplicity is genius sometimes. And sometimes you just need to keep it simple. And that's been Lucas Moura's biggest downfall at Spurs, because we all know he's got all the ability, he's got all the attributes to be a top player, but what lets him down is decision making and his lack of threat. So yeah, not been great from Lucas. What marks him up is just his performance in Europa League, so I think he's been pretty solid.
And also his work rate as well, because he does give the all for the team, and we know how much he loves Spurs, and you can see that on the football pitch.
Yeah, he does, and I think also he's a good influence in the dressing room as well. I definitely feel that. But he's definitely a player that you feel like you need to upgrade.
COYS. Let's move on to Steven Bergvine. We're giving him a 7. I always felt that we look a lot of a more balanced and a lot of a more of a threat and much better of a side when Bergvine is on that right-hand side with Sonny and Kane up top. I feel that he offers something a lot different to Gareth Bale, a lot different to Lamela, and a lot different to Lucas Moura for sure. I think that the runs that he makes, the sheer aggression he has, the variety in his game. So for me, he's got that spot on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, goals and assists, he definitely needs to improve.
He'll come.
Definitely needs to improve. But if anyone tells me he's the same as Lucas Moura on that front, you can't tell me that, because you're clearly not watching the game if you feel like Bergvine and Lucas are one and the same, because they're not. Bergvine is night and day ahead of Lucas in terms of attacking output, getting involved in the game, his interaction with the front 3 with Kane and Son as well. He really makes those runs in behind, which Lucas doesn't. He drags defenders away from the danger, makes space for Kane and Son when he's on the pitch, and definitely recently he's definitely been getting a lot more goal scoring positions and looking to test the keeper and looking a threat. And I'm, as you say, I'm also confident that if he keeps playing and keeps doing the right things, those goals and assists will come. And he's a young player with a lot of potential. And although we want to see definitely a lot more from him, and with the ability he has, he should be getting more goals and assists. I think he's had a pretty solid first half of the season when everything called upon, and we definitely do look better when he's on the pitch than when he's not on the pitch. So I think for the time being, Bergvine is in that front 3 with Kane and Son. But obviously, long term, we want to definitely have him getting more goals and assists.
All right, let's move on to Heung-min Son. We're giving him a 10. What can we say about Heung-min Son this season? You know, we thought he couldn't be better than last season. Last season, we thought he couldn't be better than the season before. But he's topped it all and being even better this season. His goal tally speaks for itself. Assists as well. He's got a lot of them this season. How many assists has he got this season? 6 assists and 12 goals, is it? So yeah, absolutely brilliant from Heung-min Son this season. But not only that, people forgetting that his defensive work that he provides for the team as well is absolutely sensational. The sheer work rate he shows on that football pitch. I mean, there are not many players in the Premier League that can say they've got a work rate like Heung-min Son.
Yeah, he's already 2 goals away from his best ever return in a Premier League season. He's already beaten last year. He only got 11 goals in the whole of last season. And
he got a Player of the Year.
Yeah, and he's on 12 already, but he did get 13 assists as well. So obviously helped a lot. But yeah, he's been absolutely sensational this season. His conversion rate has been absolutely off the charts. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, apart from the last few games.
But it's been, in general, it's been unbelievable. Like, it's up there. It's probably the best in Europe, his conversion rate at the moment, like near 50%, which is a joke. Like,
still now.
Yeah, probably. It's ridiculous. No one gets near that. Like, a 20% conversion rate's good. That's good. Like, to get near 50 is a joke.
Yeah.
Obviously, his finishing ability is second to none. He's linked up so well with Harry Kane. We've seen consistently. He's been absolutely phenomenal for the first half of the season. Probably up there, just below Harry Kane in terms of best player in the Premier League. And he's been, absolutely world class. And he's barely put a foot wrong. So I think if most players with that kind of first half of the season is 10, if he replicates the second half of the season, near perfect season. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
And I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Human Dad for all the hard work he's put in with Sonny over
he's
the
done
years.
great, hasn't he?
So let's move on to Harry Kane. We also give him a 10. It's arguable. Some people say that he reached his pomp once upon a time. Some people did, yeah. Some people say that that kind of he's not the out and out striker that he used to be, which you can say maybe he's not the out and out striker that he used to be, but he's added stuff to his game that we never thought he could. The way he drops deep, the amount of assists he's got this season is absolutely monstrous numbers. He's added I would say added goals, but added goals from the first half of the first half where Sonny was actually running away with the goals, but now he's leveled up with him. So you got to say Harry Kane, he's on the best form of his life. Long may it continue. If he has a second half of the season like he has the first half of the season, PFA Player of the Year nailed on 100%.
He's been, but for me, he's been player of the season so far. Best player in the league. Can't stop him. If you stand off him, he can curl it in from 25 yards. If you concentrate too much on him, he can play a through ball to someone running in behind. If you get too close to him, he can muscle you off the ball. He's still got those predatory and striking instincts. He's still got there with goals, 12 goals so far and 11 assists is incredible monstrous, return. Mate. Incredible
Absolutely
return.
Monstrous.
So for him to have added that creativity to his game while keeping up his goal scoring output, I mean, you can't knock that guy down. He hasn't really, honestly, it's been one of the best first half of the seasons probably by anyone in a Premier League season. So you got to say he's been absolutely phenomenal. Him and Son have been their link up has been second to none. No one can touch it. It's been one of the best link ups in Premier League history statistically anyway. And he's probably the only frustration for Kane is that his performances, we should be top of the league with his kind of performances, and the rest of the team he probably feels like isn't up to his standard because of the way he's been playing. He definitely deserves to be in a definite title challenge and winning titles. Son. Yeah, for sure. So that's the only disappointment. That's the only disappointment from Kane's point of view. So I think Kane has just been world class.
And Laurice.
World class this season.
Yeah.
As you say, long may it continue. Hopefully he can replicate that in the second half.
All right, and last but not least, Carlos Vinicius. We're giving him a 7. Hasn't played too much football, but from when he has played in the Europa League and FA Cup, I felt like he's done his job, done really well, got goals, got assists. I would just like to see him play a bit more. I would like to see Jose put a bit more trust in him in the Premier League when we're kind of chasing a game and trying to get a winner instead of just bringing him on for the last few minutes and what have you. I just feel like Vinicius needs to have a bit more trust in him.
Yeah, 25 minutes of football in the Premier League is pretty disappointing from his point of view. You would have thought he got more. However, I would say that there hasn't been too many games where he's actually been required in a weird way, even though we've dropped points late on. So it's not like we're going to bring Vinicius on when we're 1-0 up or something. Usually Mourinho makes a sub to see out the game as opposed to taking off Harry Kane and looking to get the second goal. So maybe that needs to change as well, but I can understand it. Not whether I agree with it or not is another issue. But I think, he couldn't have done much more in Europa League and FA Cup when he's got the opportunities. Was it 6 goals, 3 assists or something overall? So you can't really...
Including a hat-trick against Marine.
Yeah. So I think he's done his job pretty much when he's been called upon. He just hasn't really been called upon in the games that really matter, which is a shame for him. But maybe second half of the season, if we really need him, can make some good telling contributions. Mourinho continuously saying that he's happy with him and he likes the way he's developing, but He hasn't seen too much game time in the Premier League, so you never know. Maybe if Kane needs a rest or he gets injured or whatever, we're going to see more of him. But at the moment, it's just been, is what it is. We can't really judge him too greatly so far in that first half.
All right, so there you have it.
Mourinho?
Jose, what would you give him, a 7?
I'll give him a 7 for that first half of the season.
How do you assess it?
I think for the first half of the season, I think he's got the team playing well.
Yeah.
I think he's got the defence set up really well. I think he's got the team all on side. We're still in every competition. FA Cup, League Cup, Europa League. We're still and Premier League. We're not far off the top either. So, I think from his point of view, we're performing well. Big games, we're pretty much in every big game at the moment. We have big performances. It's just those stupid, sloppy points that we've given away, and he's not completely blameless in that. He's definitely not completely blameless. You can't lump all the blame on him, which I think a lot of people have been doing, but he's definitely not blameless in how we've dropped really silly points, which are probably going to end up costing us at the end of the season. In all honesty, how games have gone this season, what the performances we've put in, and how I've seen games, we should definitely have at least 5 or 6 more points than we do. And it's just through to late goals and giving up too much control of games that have cost us. But what I would say is our defence from open play is pretty phenomenal. I think we don't look like conceding. Our chance creation, especially in the first half, is very, very strong, and we create a lot of chances. And we're the opposition a lot of time relying on keepers having really good games, or us just really not being clinical for them to stay in the game. So in terms of how we're set up and how we're playing and how we're approaching games, I like it. But I just like us to improve how we approach the second half of games. I'd like us to improve how clinical we are in finishing our chances. And the big one for me is how bad we are at set pieces defending. That's the big one he has to improve, and how we set up that. And if we can get those things right in the second half of the season, those tweaks, then we could be in for a very good second half of the season. But for the time being, it's a 7 out of 10.
For me, it's 7 out of 10 is fair. But I think the season's gone in like a few stages. So right at the beginning of the season, obviously we lost to Everton, and then we made all those signings. And then suddenly we played this like free-flowing attacking football, scoring a lot of goals against Man United, against Southampton, and then in the first half against West Ham we scored those 3 goals. Obviously,
and Newcastle was all created loads. We didn't score, but we created loads of chances.
So that stage of the season was that. And then after that West Ham game, everyone knows what happened in that West Ham game. He kind of put the shackles on them, and we weren't creating nowhere near as many chances as we were. We were getting through games against West Brom, against Brighton by the odd goal, not conceding very many goals at all. And then the third stage was kind of very much more balanced, where it's much more balanced between attack and defence, and I think that's what we're going through now. And I think Steven Bergvine on that right hand side is a very important cog in that wheel, especially, and not only Steven Bergvine, but the rise of Tanguy Ndombele. I felt that he's getting stronger and stronger every game, and he's a big part of it. So I would say that the first kind of 2 parts of the season, what I was talking about, was lacking in either defence or attack. Now I feel that we're getting a nice little balance towards it, and I'm excited to see what happens second half of the season.
I'm just happy that I think we have a solid base at the back, despite the fact we leak a few goals from set pieces that we need to sort. I think we have a solid base. I think he's really improved the defence from where it was last season. It's no doubt about that. You can definitely see the improvement on the chances we concede. So I think he's done a really good job there. He's just got to work on the balance a bit, but I think in terms of the control we have in games, and in terms of how we set up the team and how we approach games, I think he is doing a good job. So
I do feel that his in-game management can be lacking a bit sometimes this season. I do feel that, and I feel that sometimes he does leave subs a bit too long. That Fulham game was a prime example. Like, we were calling for subs for so long. Even before we conceded, we were calling for subs. He didn't make any until 5 minutes to go or something.
I think it was like 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. But I just feel like he just does need to improve a bit his in-game management this season, because I feel like it has been a bit detrimental to us in a couple of games.
I agree with that as well. I think he does. I think he needs to be quicker when we lose control of a game to make a sub and try and regain that control. At the moment, it looks like he prefers to dig deep and just ride the storm. But when it goes on for too long, he doesn't seem to want to change it, which is a bit frustrating. But I still think we're playing quite well. So
at the end of the day, if I would have said to you at the beginning of the season, we'll be a point out of top 4 with the game in hand.
7 points off the top with the game in hand.
With 7 points off the top. You would be in the League Cup final against Man City. You'll still be in the FA Cup. You'll still be in the latter stage of Europa League. You'd be happy with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would have taken that. I think we would have taken that. So I think we're in a good position in terms of the season. We've set ourselves up for a strong second half of the season. If we can really get our act together properly and have a strong second half, then who knows what we can achieve. I think we can definitely achieve a lot.
We all said at the beginning of the season, a successful season this year would be top 4 and a cup.
And we're definitely
on track for that. So you got to commend Jose for the way he's badged us this season. Yes, there has been a few bits and pieces where we can improve on with as a collective and as individuals, but there's still half of the season to go, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, those are our player ratings. Make sure you put in the comments below what if you agree with our half-season ratings, what you thought of our opinions. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs!